Alright, looks like we're going live here. Once everybody starts jumping in and flowing in, let me know. Let me know in the chat room if you can hear everything okay. So, there was a tweet by Harry Reid in the last 24 hours here that really got me going. Good, Dylan says hi. Excellent. And I think a lot's been going on lately with this UFO UAP thing and a lot of other things in the country right now. And there's just too many cross currents going on, you know? And it sounds good. Excellent. Thank you guys. And I came to my breaking point, and and part of the problem is, for the longest time, Senator Harry Reid has been a reliable and noted kind of leader in the UFO UAP movement, and particularly because he's not just a blue check mark. He's much more than that. He's a senator. He's a senator from a state that is well known within the UFO UAP community. He has ties to Bigelow, pretty much any of the big names in the UAP UFO world. He's been quoted over and over again ad nauseum in various articles, and to say the least, it's very important to have an official of his stature, you know, on our side, you know, working what I thought was working for us, you know, and ultimately, as I go on with this rant, what this is mostly about is faith and power, faith in the American system, and faith in the system for all of us to be collectively obedient. And that's really what this is. It's much bigger than Harry Reid, you know, saying that, you know, making fun of basically all of us that believed, you know. And if you right now I'm private on Twitter because I was upset. I just figured I'm going to go private for a while and just to clear my head. So Harry Reid said what? Yesterday at 5:07 p.m., I have no knowledge and I have never suggested the federal government or any entity has unidentified flying objects or debris from other worlds. I've consistently said we must stick to science, not fairy tales about little green men. Now, I know there were quotes about him in the New York Times article, right? I know that. But if you remember, back in April 28th, Senator Harry Reid, the very same senator, said, "I'm glad the Pentagon is finally releasing this footage, but it only scratches the surface of research and materials available. The U.S. needs to take a serious scientific look at this and any potential national security implications. The American people deserve to be informed." To go from that and then to regress 20 plus years to that incident, the Phoenix Lights. This is what I feel like we're having a Phoenix Lights moment here, where the mayor came out and said, "Oh, we figured out what it was," when millions of people saw the Phoenix Lights. Maybe not millions, but hundreds of thousands of people. You know, Phoenix is a massive city, and everyone virtually in the whole metro area saw this thing, whether or not it was from us or terrestrial or humans or whatever. They saw it. And what happened was he later came out and said, he called a big press conference, and I'm sure a lot of people in the UFO world know what I'm talking. Probably just anybody knows what I'm talking about, what I'm referring to. But he came out, made a big deal about it, and said, "We're going to show you the culprit." You know, obviously I'm grossly paraphrasing. And someone came out in a cheap little green man costume on, thus making fun of everybody, his constituents, the constituents that are out there. And in a lot of ways, Senator Harry Reid just did the same thing. And to do that in a time when the public trust in the institutions, the illusion of these institutions in the United States is at an all-time low. When the government treats one group of people differently than another group of people, and nakedly do it, when you have senior officials nakedly disregarding the concept of basic fairness in terms of governance, We have public officials, that judge who had her family assassinated. We have some kind of strange, weird, secret war going on. I mean, I have my own theories on it. I don't know what it's all about. But clearly something's up, right? Something's going on around us. And it feels like it's coming to a point. And to do this at that time, to me, seems like yet something else and someone else that you put your trust in lets you down. And it gets to the point to where even the most basic levels of trust in any kind of institution becomes diminished to a point of negativity, to where not only is there no trust in any of these institutions, because people can be institutions. Senator Harry Reid was considered an institution in a lot of people's minds because of being a senator, being a part of the Democratic Party, being a part of the power structure, having the inside documents, having the inside track, having all of these things, and then to immediately regress within just a couple of sentences to fairy tales about little green men. And it's frustrating, there are counties and cities that are ignoring the federal government. The federal government seems a bit like it's in a mess. Everything seems to be in total flux right now. And ironically, one of the things that could pull a lot of people together was originally one of the more divisive subjects that was out there, which was the UFO UAP subject. And just when it was starting to get traction, you have one of the major public figures about it literally just go ahead and pull up stakes after 20 plus years. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what it's about. I'm just kind of venting at this point. And it feels like we're having that Phoenix Lights moment where history is sort of rhyming. And he just did one of those where, and it's much more, it's saying that you're all idiots. Because you can't say that we're just barely scratching the surface in April, then a couple months later saying that we're talking about fairy tales. And not to mention, this is still at the New York Times. And now I think I'm touching on something even more profound and more disturbing about the state of the nation. The state of the nation is not strong. At all. I mean, you have mayors, you have governors that are in open, naked revolt with the federal government. You have different sides sort of sizing each other up for I don't know what. Is the vote going to matter? All of these things are in flux. And in the middle of all that, something that was so strange and so bizarre that it was so over the top that I had faith that it could probably pull us all together. Something like this. And I don't know, it was something at a psychic and an emotional level, like a hit to the gut. And then as a side to this, just before I saw that tweet, there was somebody who was well known within the UFO world, and they were, I guess, having something to do with the Unidentified show on the History Channel, saying that the ratings isn't where they want it to be. And I started thinking, all this is kicking up right when this show is out, and it's like, is this whole thing like a staged TV show? Now, a lot of people, they do these flippant comments going, well, of course it's a TV show. But I wouldn't be one to go exactly like that. I truly believe in synchronicities. I truly believe that there can be disparate things, and if you pay attention long enough, you're able to put them together in a harmonious way to you that just comes subconsciously in order for yourself. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a conspiracy. In fact, the further I get into exploring these kinds of subjects, I feel more and more critical towards them. I feel more and more skeptical. I don't listen when someone tells me they've got the inside track anymore as much. I don't entertain people whenever they tell me they have the answer as much. It's sort of like when people were threatening me in the very beginning and saying really bad things. It really affected me and I listened at the beginning, but eventually that fell away from me. The same thing too, hey, what's up, Buster? The same thing too with having the inside tracked or whatever. I just, okay, sure you do. A lot of people have told me that. A lot of people have told me that. And now that's even falling away. But for Senator Harry Reid to come out and say that in this time, volume's a little low. Okay, I'll turn it up. For Senator Harry Reid to come and say that at this time right now is just nuts. Tell me if that's any better, Buster, if the audio is any better. Because I turned it up quite a bit. Hopefully it's not an echo. If it is, I'll fix it. But there's a lot of cross currents right now going on, and certainly this now adds to the national distortion that's happening. Perfect. Thanks, Buster. Like I said, we have parts of the country that are in open rebellion with the federal government. We have this simmering, cold civil war happening within the nation. We have so many things right now that are making the national conversation impossible. We have huge parts of the population that are terrified to speak their opinion. And I'm not talking radical opinions. And this was the one thing that probably a lot of people could rally around. It's all pre-planned. I don't know. I don't even believe that anymore. I don't think so. I don't think it's pre-planned. And again, I've talked about that before. I don't think that there's some great NWO thing going on, Yeah, it is, Jeremy. It's a warm civil war. It's heating up. You do. You have states in naked rebellion. You have different counties that will not follow certain Second Amendment laws. You have rogue prosecutors in other localized areas. Things are not very good right now. And for Harry Reid to add to all of this, that there was a growing movement that people could look towards. I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. And the reason why I don't think it's scripted is because this goes against the script of the New World Order, right? We're supposed to all fall in line or something. Or is the script now... See, the script kind of changes, right? Is there supposed to be chaos? Are we supposed to be chipped? Is there supposed to be... Because, I've talked about this before. There was the empty Walmarts 5 or 6 years ago. There was the Jade Helmet or whatever it was called. There was the thing on the Texas border. It's all crap. It's garbage. It's noise to me. Jade Helm, that's what it was. In fact, something like that actually would be more soothing than what I'm seeing right now. And I think for me personally, it was chaos to make you insecure, trade freedom security. That's still, no offense, man. And I truly mean no offense to you, but a lot of this stuff I've heard before. And I know one of the I can't remember if it was Franklin or whatever, one of the founding fathers said that. It's just really disappointing. And then and the reason why is, finally I'll get to the reason why is, I felt like when I've listened to jaded people who have been in the UFO thing for 10, 20, 30 years, because there's multiple layers to this. The people that are actually into it, and they're not part of the industry side of it, and they're not part of the government side of it. The people like me that are they want to know the truth, and they're just really into it. They seem like they get a little bit, some traction, just a little traction, and then it's eroded away, and that's what I felt like just now. And I'm not going to do that. I'm going to abandon this. And like I put in my Twitter, until I'm sucked up and they have to do things to to me, I'm no longer going to root for the home team, so to speak, in the UFO world, because, I understand people who make a living out of doing this and make a living out of the research, and people who have good intentions. I get that and I understand that. Particularly people who are good actors, meaning that they have good faith and they really believe this and they want to get to the truth. But they also that's their job. They make a living doing this. That's very different than someone who, like me, it's not my job. I really had faith that we could, this is it. Something really big is about to happen and change course, and I don't know. It's just something about it the last couple days here. I've just got a feeling like a door's been closed. Like, I guess maybe there was a beta test out here to see how everyone would react, and it went somewhere from no one caring to a lot of people getting excited, maybe some people getting scared. I don't know. That's just it. I don't know. It's just frustrating. And between the protests, the riots, the tearing down of the statues, all of the things that are happening right now, I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe. I don't feel physically safe. Do you feel safe? Does anybody that lives in a city over 200,000 or in a metro area over 1 million, do you feel safe? I'll bet it's a no. And I don't care what side of the political spectrum you fall on, you just know, right? I get it. Everyone gets it. Everybody's giving each other the side eye. Just reading you guys stuff. It is better to be in outside of 90 miles outside of Portland, Oregon. Oof. Ooh, I don't know if 90 miles is far enough outside of there, man. Holy cow. I don't know. Maybe that's a concentrated area and it's a distorted. I live in Sweden's capital. Okay. That's cool. Yeah, but Portland, Oregon it just seems. Yeah, Central PA is great. My dad is from Pittsburgh. Central PA is awesome. It's very pretty. I like Hershey and those areas. I like the whole thing, man. All the way, that whole field, even through Philadelphia and you go down in through Delaware, that's a really nice part of the Mid-Atlantic. Really, really nice. Really nice state. Pennsylvania, really, really nice, pleasant people who are very, maybe I'm jaded because my dad's family's from there, but really like solid, like good wood, man. Just like solid. You know what I mean? Just solid people. Altoona, cool. Just solid, man. Very solid. I like Pennsylvania. Great state. So anyway, I put it on lockdown, my Twitter, and it's just I just don't want to talk about it. I don't want people. I just don't want to just frustrating. So it's something I'm going to set aside. I still have an idea that all of this somehow ties in together. But in terms of me actively pursuing this, that's pretty much done with for now. I mean, I never say never. But in terms of the things that I was doing before, the spirituality, the meditation, working with different kind of alternative spiritualities. Yeah, I'm still doing those kinds of things and that kind of research on my own. I'm still moving in those kinds of different directions. I just think I'm going to start moving away from the whole UFO thing for now. It's got to be terribly frustrating unless you're in the government and you're partially in the know, or it's your job somehow and you're part of the bureaucracy. That's fine. Or if you're a public figure, a semi-public figure, and you make a living doing it and you're a good faith actor, that's fine. And then there's the bad faith actors. And I won't get into that, but I think a lot of the bad faith actors, there's a handful that might know. I have suspicions that they know they're bad faith actors, meaning they probably don't even believe what they're saying. But then there's bad faith actors that they don't know they're bad faith actors. Jay says, I think there's more interesting things in extraterrestrial. Well, the thing about it was, I don't think that they were extraterrestrial. I was hoping we were going to go in an area where it was extra dimensional. Then that would help with the other ideas that we've been talking about on this channel for a long time. That's what I was hoping for. That's why, I kind of would joke people about the nuts and bolts idea of the technology. I don't think it was that. I think it's dimensional. I think it's has something to do with light and frequency and all the, I've said it a million times before. It's why I don't do videos all the time unless I have something new to say. I'm not going to say it because I don't have a compulsive desire to say the same thing over and over again. Nor do I have a compulsive desire to say something that someone has already said before or a million other channels have already said before. There's like certain channels I'll go to because I know they basically say the same thing over and over again. But it's okay, I don't mind it. It's sort of like you watch a sitcom, not because you expect something new, it's because you expect the same thing. Which, by the way, is a sidebar to all this. They have this Friends where they're taking away the laugh track to a lot of really iconic shows like Friends. And then they put like creepy music to it. And they did like a couple with like Ross and Chandler and stuff, and it's actually really changes the dynamic of the show. But I think it's important because one, it's interesting, but also two, it just shows you the mood and the atmosphere that TV can set up for you and how it can make you accept things that are really creepy and bizarre as long as people are laughing along with it, so you can be part of the group even if there's no one else in the living room but you. But again, that gets back to the way you perceive things. I go on and on again about Edward Bernays and all that, but there's a million videos out there about that and being, critical philosophy and perceiving things. And then you can get into some of the more biblical philosophers and all that, but I don't know. I just think that, I personally think that there is a social contract between citizen and government. And I think that contract is eroding with people who are not hyper partisan. And by a partisan, I mean hyper partisan, meaning they're almost like they're political NPC drones. And I think that contract is breaking down to the point to where I think a lot of people are just now it's dawning on them and that they're dealing with this, but I don't think the overwhelming sense of security and the sense that the government and government officials and people in different agencies have your back and have your best interests in mind. I think that's starting to spill over into the mainstream, and not just the the fringes here that most of us are on. I think it's spilling into, I think whatever the government is doing, whatever I don't know what it is they're doing, but it's starting to spill over into the mainstream. And that social contract, if it breaks there, I don't know, because for the amount of money that the American government spends on the military, a lot of that goes to graft, and a lot of that goes to controlling sea lanes and controlling trade overseas. If you were to have a large American population that was truly out of control like you're seeing in these American cities, I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm frightened. And this sort of added to it, that yet, in an odd way, the UFO world was a really part of that almost wholesome American landscape coming from that atomic era. It's like it was part of it. You watch TV shows about it, even the X-Files and the newest one where it talks about, was it Project Paperclip, or what was it it was on the History Channel. I really enjoyed it. And the one guy's the skeptic and the other guy is it's the guy from the Medieval show. Anyway, I'm butchering this whole thing, but I just think that all of these things are dissolving in a really bad way. And I don't know, it's very strange. And I felt a shift when I read that tweet. There are certain things, and it's always, when something goes awry, it's never where you think it's going to go awry. It's always some side weird thing. Like someone was supposed to take a project paperclip. Thank you. It was very real thing. No, and I'm not doubting that it was Molly. What I was talking about was the TV show with it was really great that they have, and I forgot what channel it was. Maybe it was Discovery or History, and they are talking about it. And it's one of the actors. He was from that show with the Lannisters and all that. That guy was playing the scientist. I know it's probably a lot of incoherent rambling, but there's a lot of things that have been going on right now, and it's I know it's an election year, so I know a part of this engine is engineered, but to the people that are engineering this, be careful with the fire you're playing with, because I don't know what these people are going to do and what they're capable of. Or if this is not engineered, then I don't know what to say. I know I'm not comfortable. And now I've got this feeling, this sinking feeling, this UFO thing it's a maze, it's a rat trap. It's just circle around and around and around and around and around. So I don't know. So I'm pretty much going to abandon that. And go back more into the traditional way in which I was doing research. It was a distraction. I like that. It was a distraction, and now, I guess now that I've got it out of my system here, and I feel a little better talking about it. Now I can concentrate on something on the way that I was operating before all of this. So, yeah. But I still don't know if this is sort of these political games because I've never seen anything like this in terms of the chaos that's happening in America right now. I don't know if it's from agents overseas. I don't know if it's because of our rocky foreign policy with other, superpowers like China, superpowers like Russia. I don't know. But everything here seems to be kind of tilted, kind of skewed and strange. And just seeing these officials nakedly and openly defying and rebelling I feel it's unsettling. I feel very unsettled. I don't feel safe. And I don't mean like me personally, like they're coming after me. They're coming after me. No, I mean like just in general, just being an American right now alive. And what happens if we do end up getting rid of the police and citizens that are not as wealthy, if they're going to have to defend themselves? What does that mean? What does that look like? Because if you get rid of the police, the people who are trying to enforce the laws, they're just a bunch of people sitting around in robes, right? Or they're just a bunch of people in a really fancy chamber just arguing. Because you have to have a martial arm, an enforcement mechanism. And if that isn't there, or if that isn't, particularly now, you have ex-military that have become police, so they have that military experience, they have policing experience, and you start cutting them by the thousands, or maybe even 10,000s. Imagine them forming their own militias while you defund major police departments. And still you have that rural area thing going on. So it's I don't know how this is supposed to work. And maybe it's because I'm not as politically astute, or I don't understand it. But really, if you don't have an enforcement arm, you really just have, I don't even see the point of elections. I don't even see the point of making policy if you can't enforce it. It doesn't make any sense to me. But I guess I'm missing the point. I'm sure. I'm not. I just don't understand it. So all of this came rushing out of me with this Harry Reid tweet because I felt like it was one of. It was a real betrayal of the trust of yet another, something I considered an important kind of column inside of, the American cultural landscape, which is, whether you like it or not, UFOs, that sort of atomic era, landscape that still affects America and really the world today. And I think it's just fallen, and yet it's another bastion of sort of our past, and the power just collapsing all around us. It's very strange. So, and I haven't seen it anywhere. I've looked everywhere, about how the system would work without an enforcement mechanism. I'm reading you guys' stuff right now. Yeah, Jeremy. I got Lucian here. 1 square of the Neowise Comet, US Bank, PlayStation 5 a virus. They can't be squared, fragmentation, compartmentalization. Yeah, it's almost as if like the fractal itself has become distorted. And a fractal, in order for it to work properly, it has to be squared properly. And we have this, I don't know. Defunding is more about combating police abuse, which I think we all know is rampant. Well, I agree. I've seen the videos. They're awful. They're terrifying. And I think once we get rid of them, I'm just saying what comes the day after that, about retooling. Because I mean, particularly if I were a more corporatized version of organized crime, I know that I would, and I mean like corporate organized crime, as in like the drug companies and all that. You don't even have those forces, because I think a lot of people think about policing just as at the street level. But the problem with that is the street level is the very base, and then it has to go all the way up to the corporate level. And then that's where the real big crime happens in terms of drugs not working, or, the water supply, people getting sick from the water supply, the USDA not being able to enforce or regulate the way we get our food supply. You see what I'm saying? If there's not any that's how other countries, if you can't regulate at that level, then there's no way to regulate at the higher level. It has to come from the bottom up. If I'm making any sense with that. Also, too, it's a point of being able to respect the idea of, I'm going to work and there's an enforcement process there if I'm in the USDA, let's say. Or if I know that an inspector is going to come by and they're going to fine me, well, I'm not going to pay the fine. Let's say I'm a poultry plant. I'm not paying the fine. And they say, well, we're going to write you up and, you're going to go to court. And then I'm going to ignore the court. And who are they going to send by to get me? So I'm going to keep putting out bad food, right? I guess. I don't know. Explain it to me. Let me know about things like this, because I don't know, and I'd like it explained to me. And imagine that in mass, like massive corporations doing this. Because already right now, I think we're slipping into like this corporatocracy, a form of fascism, I think. I think we're slipping into a form of corporate fascism already. And I think that people who are incredibly wealthy will be able to afford their own private police forces, and then you have these privatized jails, and I think we're setting ourselves up for a truly privatization nightmare. I don't know. These are just like all things just running through my head right now. I just don't know where it goes, I mean, because that's just enforcement of like a poultry plant, but we have, enforcement of water, and enforcement of, park rules, and enforcement of highways, and how is it that we would, do shipping? I don't know. It's maybe, explain it to me. Like what's the big idea for that kind of thing? Because I've seen the abuse, and it's horrific. I follow the guy from Joe Rogan on Instagram, and he shows some of the police abuse that's been out there, and it's horrific. It's really bad. It's really, really bad. So I get it. I totally get it. And now, because I've seen that, um, I don't feel safe anywhere now. Actually, even, and I'm not against the police at all, and by any means. But I also I feel that tenseness now, knowing that that's a possibility. And because I haven't had to face that myself, I'm facing that for the first time too, seeing that that's possible. So that's a real eye opener for me. So it's twice as bad. But I just want to know what the answer would be if we were to sort of retool that, and exactly how would all that work? I don't know. Um, I hope not a federal police force. That would be the worst probably case scenario, I think. Like a federalized police force, because I think um, then it would be a matter of federal bureaucracies handling things in like counties in New Mexico or counties in Maine that have very different environments and very different populations, and also very different economies. And I don't think that a federal police force in a country this big would be equipped to be able to do that, unless you wanted to add a bureaucracy that was so massive that it would be probably over 50% of the GDP. I think, right? I don't know. I don't know how any of that would work. I'm not an expert. I don't know. I just know Harry Reid's tweet made me really upset. All right, I'm out of here. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.